Hi, I'm Eva Kimsing, editor of identityweek.net. Today I'm in conversation with Ivan Merin, who's business development manager at the GLEIF, who will be speaking in June at our upcoming conference, Identity Week Europe. Ivan, it's great to speak to you this morning and get a chance to obviously hear your perspective on GLEIF. You want to represent the organisation in June. What will you be speaking about?
Morning, Eve. It's a pleasure to be speaking this morning with you and also sharing in this podcast what we will be speaking at the event in June. So basically, we would like to share our view on the corporate digital identity, how we address this on global basis, and how we utilize the eLEI codes to identify legal entities properly and in a consistent way in different jurisdictions in all continents. So we will be sharing this approach.
And obviously, there's lots of noise around digital identity, and in particular, the business wallet. GLEIF often emphasizes interoperability and trust frameworks as pillars of digital identity. What are the biggest barriers today to achieving global interoperability for legal entity identity?
Yeah, good question there. Yeah, when we come to the field of addressing the digital identity of a legal entity in whatever jurisdiction in the world, you always need to some key identifier to know who you are dealing with. So the bottom line question is that reliable? Is not. So the proposal from GLEIF. First, let me elaborate a little bit. GLEIF is coming from after the 2008 crisis. The Financial Stability Board decided to set up and the GLEIF Foundation in order to prevent that to happen again. The mission and vision of GLEIF is to create eLEI codes, which are 20-digit identifiers, codes that identify legal entities consistently and digitally all over the world. So that's the mechanism we are sharing and we are proposing and we've been utilizing and promoting more over than 10 years now in different regions of the world and also in Europe. And we will come to that point afterwards on how that links with the business wallet. So that's the proposal, to use that code is effective and is in place now in different jurisdictions all over the world, and there's regulation around that. And that's our solution, and it's working, it's up and running. Interoperability is a key aspect of that, and that guarantees that you can interoperate among different regions because it's consistent. The identifier, it doesn't change from one region to the other. So at the end, you know who you are dealing with thanks to this reliable identifier. Also, the mechanisms that we use to issue the code are reliable and audited, and that guarantees its consistency.
Absolutely, and thank you for giving like an overview of GLEIF. How does this align with emerging trust frameworks, in particular eIDAS and the EU business wallet that we mentioned? Are you kind of monitoring what's going on across Europe as a whole?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are really aligned with what is going on in Europe around the eIDAS 2 and the business wallet. In fact, we are very active in the different consortiums that are in place now in Europe. In particular, we are part of the We Build consortium, actively participating in different work packages, BU1, BU2, all around how you identify properly legal entities. And even more, it's not that we are actively participating on those pilots and those consortiums that will lead into the regulation that will be transposed to all the member states. Is I must say that the eLEI code is already recognized in the implementing acts in eIDAS 2. So we are part of the law. We are an active and recognized part of the law. And we are proposing in those pilots to use the eLEI codes to identify legal entities consistently all across Europe, and not only that, beyond borders. Also, when we come to the cross-border trade, it's very useful to have that unique, uniform, consistent identifier for legal entities that facilitates and streamlines all the processes when we come to global trade. So we frame and we use the eLEI codes into the LPID part of the business wallet, and also we embed the eLEI codes into the different credentials that are recognized under the architecture reference framework that is in place under eIDAS 2 and the European Business Wallet regulation.
And as you mentioned, this is like a critical part of those bigger business wallets and wallets across Europe. Um, why is the LEI such a critical missing link in the digitalization of global supply chains, really to enable cross-border trade?
Yeah, excellent point there. So in fact, if you see our perspective and where we are coming from, we are a global organization. We are not only aiming to Europe. The eLEI code is very useful to identify legal entities in Europe, private companies, public companies, charities, not registered companies. So all the legal entities, all forms of legal entities are eligible to be identified properly by the LEA codes. But not only that, we come to the cross-border trade in the supply chains. You have that the same identifier to be used and to be utilized across jurisdiction in the cross-border trade and in the supply chains. So you can build up a consistent supply chain and automate all the process or the digital processes using the LEI code. So a credential may travel from one continent to the other and being consistent with the same LEI code embedded into it. So all the stakeholders that are participating in that supply chain can double check that the LEI is there and identify, as mentioned, all the participants in the chain in a consistent and robust digital way.
Absolutely. And this is so important for financial services, financial transactions. Um, how can AI or smart contracts and automation improve the quality and usability of the LEI reference data?
Yeah, absolutely. When we come to the we more in deep into the supply chain processes, let's imagine we have a process that some goods are coming from Asia to Europe. There are many stakeholders involved into that. And you need to automate the digital processes that are in place since you create the good till you export and you import the good into a different continent. How you do that in an automated way? You need some business logic to be in place, and that's how it links with the smart contracts. So smart contracts can easily handle and manage the LEI codes because we have interfaces for the software APIs and different mechanisms to link different ERPs all across the supply chains. And you can automate those processes in a clean way, meaning by clean that it's an interoperable way. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel for each process. Those smart contracts can be applied to different supply chains consistently without changing the business logic. So those smart contracts are smart enough to have a consistent LEI code that identifies properly legal entities. So you have both pieces. You have the intelligence, the business intelligence that is allocated in the smart contracts or AI agents, and a consistent identifier that is the LEI code that is needed as a building block, as a foundational thing to bring the and to lever the action of the smart contracts and the AI agents. Okay?
And I suppose AI has been that major technological shift that accelerates the LEI as well, as we're seeing across lots of use
Yeah.
cases. Um, could you just give an example of the most compelling use case, aspect of your work that you might go on to share in June as well?
Yeah, some examples could be we're working intensively with some Asian companies that are using the LEI codes and VLEIs, verifiable credentials that contains the LEI codes. We can embed the LEI into our own credentials or other kinds of credentials, no matter what kind of digital credential. So as an example, in the supply chains, you can think about car manufacturers. They can issue some pieces, or even the car itself, a complete car can be manufactured in China, as an example. We have partners there also. We have operation units all over the world. Well, they issue the identifiers for those car manufacturers, and the car is put or shipped overseas to Europe, and then comes to a harbor, to a port in Europe, and we import the car itself. Then it goes to a car dealer and is sold to a citizen or a company. So as you can imagine, in that process, there are many stakeholders involved, and you need to identify those. How you control that from an industrial perspective? You have different ERPs interconnected, interchanging information among those, not only for tax purposes, also for controlling the process itself. So in each different step, you need interfaces that know they are dealing with the right stakeholder for where the good is coming from, where the good is going to,
Yeah.
and, and where is the accountability allocated in each single step. That's where the LEI has a huge value, because you can identify properly in each single step who has the full accountability of that step or partial accountability, and that's expressed digitally by the LEI. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think I've learned a lot as well about LEI. It's been great to speak to you, and I look forward to meeting you in June, and sitting in these sessions and learning more. But thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to chat with you. I'm looking forward to be there in June.